Hello and welcome to my installment of January Favorites 2020. So, like a lot of you, because I've been watching your videos, I didn't even see January go by. For me, January was almost, and it's not just this year, every year it's like that for me. January is an extension of the end of the year. The new year doesn't start for me really, like the new calendar year doesn't really click for me or doesn't really start for me until February. So January was pretty much a blur. Sorry about that. I needed a sip of my coffee. It was beckoning me. For the most part, well, because the end of the year was a wash, right? So there was a lot of catching up I needed to do in January. Catching up in terms of my home life and tasks that needed to be done at home. Work work picks up because coworkers are on vacation and all that kind of stuff. So, and I'm still adjusting to the whole working outside the home 4 days a week. And for those of you who don't know, I did not work outside the home 4 days a week for 5 years. So I worked from home. So that's the adjustment. Being prepared for what I need when I'm out and about all day long. Including, if you're like me, and not everyone is like me, I understand. You know what I mean? It's like I actually don't want to come home to take out every day. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for the body. It's not good for the wallet. You're working so hard and you're blowing all your money on takeout. You hear what I'm saying? Also, it wasn't a very active month for me. January wasn't a very active month for me in terms of tarot and that kind of stuff. I did some client readings, but that's pretty much it. I laid pretty low. It was very casual for me. I did my daily draws. I had a couple of decks out. There's some decks that, some new decks came into my life through trade, gift. Oh, I left one out. Doesn't matter. It's in my previous video. Or my books. So let me begin. I'll start with the, what I'll do is I'll start with the witchy stuff, tarot, decks, books, consumables, and then I'll do the stuff that's the personal care or whatever at the end. Which there's really nothing much new in terms of favorites, but for me it's a way of also documenting so I can look back and see what my favorites were, what my consumption rate has been, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start with one deck that this is a deck I got in December from Lisa from Supportive Tarot. And it's Tarot of the Moon Garden. So I received this deck while I was sick, and these are the two, like the title card and the info card. I had a copy of this deck in the early, I want to say the early or mid 90s. So for me, it evokes very much that time. Also, the color palette is very mid to late 90s. It's got, it really has that 90s feel, if you know what I mean, right? If you were younger in the 90s or culturally aware in the 90s, this is a very 90s tarot deck. It's kind of Rider Waite. I mentioned this in a previous video. It's kind of Rider Waite. It has fairies, little fairy creatures in it. It has mystical creatures in it. Here's one of these kind of fairies. Some of the cards are, you know, allude to Rider-Waite. Some of them are very clearly based on Rider-Waite, and some of them are completely different. Like this one for Ten of Pentacles is, and some of them are pip. You know, straight up pip cards. So, for instance, this one's a straight up pip card because all you see are the swords. The swords are dragonflies. 5 of Swords. The color palette. I love the color palette of this deck. These are the back. Oh, sorry. These are the backs. And the main complaint about this deck that I hear other people is that it's blurry. You can't really, you know, it's not sharp images. It's quite blurry. I don't. It's not because it's overcast and whatever. No, it's blurry. I don't mind it. I think I love this. I don't even know if I love this deck. I think what I like about it is the nostalgia. It reminds me of the store, the brick and mortar metaphysical store I bought my copy of it at. It reminds me of that place in time. The late 90s, the weekly trek to the metaphysical store to buy incense and oils and all kinds, you know, supplies. Shopping for books, shopping for decks. And because they didn't have open demo decks, this store was amazing. It was called Mélange Magique, and it wasn't downtown Montreal. And they had a photo album where they had some cards of a tarot, like the tarot decks they had on the shelf. They had a photo album with some of the cards of each deck, which at least was a better idea than than buying a deck and not knowing what you were getting inside. Some people like to be surprised. I'm not some people. I don't like to be surprised because, you know, you take a tarot deck home, you open it up and doesn't connect. It's sad. We've all been there. Anyway, I digress. It reminds me of that time, and I have fond memories of that time. Just like there was some harsh things going on at that time too in my life, but overall, it reminds me more of that that feeling, right? Jumping in my car, driving downtown to do my weekly pilgrimage to the metaphysical store, whether it was to shop or to read, because I often read as well there, and yeah. Tarot Moon Garden. I spent too much time on this deck. All right, let's keep. Oh my gosh! And here we start with the dropping. Where was I? Oh my gosh. Okay. Don't panic, Grace. There's a lot of stuff on my desk, and I'm just going to. I'm going to talk about the other deck that came into my life in January was the Lightseers Tarot. I mentioned this in one of my previous videos. I tell you all the story of the botched edging job, which, you know, now is okay. It doesn't stain my hands. I find the edges match the cards better than they match the backs, but whatever. I don't love this deck. You know what I mean? It's not that I pick it up and go, oh, I'm so happy I have this deck. But I don't not like it. You know what I mean? Like, I do like it, but I'm not in love with it. And I'm not in love with it, and I'll tell you why. Not because it isn't beautiful, but mainly because there's too much going on in the cards that depending on the question I ask, sometimes it helps tremendously and other times it hinders. It hinders. Like my meaning for the cards, right? Also, this Ten of Swords. I'm sorry. I don't like it, and because I got spoiled by seeing what the original Ten of Swords was, which I think is brilliant, and I don't understand that we live in this world that everybody is so freaking sensitive that a piece of art that art is supposed to provoke. That's what art does. That's what good art, great art provokes. So I just got it in passing, the details about why this card was changed, and I disagree wholeheartedly. If I had the original Ten of Swords in this deck, it would be a love. This is, no. This is just too nice washed for me. This is not Ten of Swords. I lived a freaking year of Ten of Swords. This doesn't even come close. Yeah, the land is barren. She's walking away from it. The birds are flying. No. No. The woman with the stitched up scars on her back where the swords used to be, that is art. Chrisanne, if you're listening to me, beautiful. Anyway. So, and the only reason I don't love this deck, not because it isn't beautiful, the art is, like, the artist is freaking talented. It's because I tend to like, I like to guess more. A little more abstract in terms of, but so it's a firm like. It's not a love, but that doesn't mean that won't change. So I'm hanging on to it because it wormed its way into my heart to be a firm like. But man, do I wish it had the original Ten of Swords. All right, that's enough. I've talked enough. So these two were constantly out in the month of January. Daily draws. I'd compare. I'd draw a card from 3 decks. I had 3 tarot decks out in January. I'm going to talk about the next one. And I would pick a card from each deck. And as anyone who's done this exercise knows, they pretty much are either saying the same thing, are the same. You pull the same card. You know what I mean? The message is the message. The next deck that I used all of January was this one. This is available on Amazon. I'm pretty sure Amazon.com has it, and it's available. Like, I think it's actually shipped by Amazon. Amazon.ca had it by third-party seller for months. $70, $80, $90, ridiculousness. No. And I got mine from the book depository. And I paid less than $30 Canadian, which is roughly about 20 bucks American. So, you know what I mean? Anyway, the trade-off with book depository is that you have to wait. And lately I've been waiting like 4 or 5 weeks for stuff from the book depository when it used to take 3 weeks. I've said this before. I'm going to just continue. All right. It used to take 2 weeks at the start. This 10 years ago. I'm still hung up on shipping times of 10 years ago. But anyway, I digress. So this was out all of January, most of January. And this is the large size. You've seen it before. I'll show it to you again quickly. The only thing I didn't like about this deck was the white borders. The coloration on this deck, if you're wondering about it, is beautiful. It's a good quality printing of this deck. So if you're wanting to get your hands on a Thoth, I highly recommend this one. I find that, I needed the larger cards because I am learning this deck, and I'm not likely to need one for on the go. Now the reason why mine is in order is because I'm hoping to do a video where I compare this one to another one that I got. And I did get my hot little hands on a greenie that I'm very, very excited about. And I'm not gonna say, oh well, you know, the greenie is so much better. It's different. You could tell that it was a misprint in the most charming way. But this is a high quality deck. So if you're looking for a thought deck, I highly recommend this one. Also at this size, you could trim the side borders off if you want, or like I was planning to do, if these white borders on these little white borders on the back bother you, you could trim those off and you'll still have some border left on the front. You know what I mean? Like it gives you, there's a lot of room, there's a lot of card to work with. I'm really enjoying learning this new system, which I discovered is not really a new system to me, because you know, Rider Waite and Thoth both derive from Golden Dawn, and so there's a lot of overlap, right? And also I've been reading for so long, I don't know, and read some, you know, and earlier on I read a lot of books, so I don't know what was what. So I find this, it's readable straight out of the box, with knowledge, with Rider Waite knowledge, and even numerology helps. A bit of, even if you just have a smattering of numerology and a smattering of astrology, you're already going to be able to open this up and use it. The next deck, oh, I guess I'll show you my greenie now. So I got this. I was lucky, I scored it. Oh my goodness, okay, I've already. So here's a little white book that's no longer white. So these are the backs. See, it's more my thing. And it's in order because I'm hoping to do a video today where I compare the two, but I don't know how that's gonna go because I don't have it over the table set up. So it's gonna be like, I'm not sure yet. Anyway, so I got it at a really decent price considering what they're going for. The only thing it didn't come with the box, and the seller described it as quite used. However, these edges are not. The edges are a little bit darkened, but I have a tarot deck or two that are quite old that I've been using myself for over 20 years, and the edges are not this good. So I'm pretty happy with what I got. The only thing it didn't have was the box. So what? Look at this. I love the green. The green for me is just it's the green cast over the cards, over the color of makes it muted. So it has a different feel, let's say, from my brand new one that I just got from Book Depository. And either because of use or because the cardstock it's cardboard, so, but it has a nice waxy feel to it. So it has a nice waxy covering to it. It's not glossy, and it's not, you know, but it feels nice in the hands. And when I got it, I did my whole thing where I wiped each card and did the clearing, wiped each card, whatever it is that people do, or whatever it is that I do. For me, it's very simple. It goes in salt. I wipe each card. We're done. Maybe a little incense smoke, maybe not. Doesn't matter. So that's my greenie that I got in January. No, I ordered it in January. I received it last week. But I count it as a January favorite because that's when I found it. And bought it. Okay. What else have I been enjoying in January? So I'll talk about, I got this deck in a trade with a friend locally, And I did a whole, I cleared out all my decks, all the tarot and oracle decks that I had accumulated in 2018 and were just in stasis during my depth year in 2019. And then come last month, I went through them. I was overwhelmed by the box that had all these decks in it that no matter how many times I went back to it, I just couldn't connect with. Every time I went back to them many times, I just couldn't connect with them. So I was so happy to move those along. And when I met with my friend to hand her the box of decks I was moving out, she traded me this one. And I was curious about the Animal Kin Oracle by Sarah Wilder, because I had seen it. I think it was Lisa on Supportive Tarot featured it on her channel. These are the backs. So beautiful. I love animal decks, and animal decks have to really speak to me. I've only used it a couple of times, so I can't even tell you if I like it. But it's pretty, and I got it in January, and it's not, the reason why it's in my January favorites is that I moved out, I don't know how many decks. It was a box full. And I think it was nice to add this one, and I look forward to using it. So this, for me, is symbolic of the moving out a whole box of things that were just overwhelming me, and I brought this home. So that is that. What else? Oh, cards. Still January. Okay, so I'll show you. January, I think I did one deck modification, and it's these guys. It's the Druidcraft Animal Oracle, and Druid Animal Oracle. You know which one I mean. The art by Will Worthington. And I got these last year at a used bookstore, secondhand bookstore, used bookstore, and it's the first edition hardcover book, the cloth, the whole thing, which I think it still comes that way, but this is a first edition. I couldn't connect to it. Unbelievable. I could not connect to this deck. And it made the trek, like I've described in the past, from the bookshelf to the giveaway box, back to the bookshelf. And then finally, last month, I decided, you know what? I'm going to trim it, because my Druidcraft is completely trimmed, like titles and all. My Wildwood is trimmed. So let me see if this helps. And yeah, it did. Trimming it really did make a difference. I feel like those, although I did like the inner border, I still felt like the image, it was too much noise around the card. And now I love them. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. So I'm pretty happy. So that was my one. I think I only did one deck mod in January. Yeah, because the Light Seers, I did it. If it was the 31st, no, it wouldn't have been the 31st. It would have been the 1st that I did it, on the weekend, so of February, so that doesn't count. The next deck I've been working with a lot, and I did something crazy. I ordered Kim Krantz's Archetypes deck, even though I rehomed both the Wild Unknown and the Animal Spirit Oracle. I got swept up in the hype. Now, in my defense, I had a fever when I placed that order. Anyway, that one, I moved it along. I had a fever. It was featured on on Lisa Supportive Tarot's Say Yes to the Deck, her first episode of Say Yes to the Deck. Those of you may be familiar with Say Yes to the Dress, that kind of concept. I had a fever. I was sick. Feeling sorry for myself. I ended up ordering it because it was at a crazy discount on Amazon.ca. It was less than half price. So no, I didn't keep it because honestly, if it's the collage, I just thought it was just outside of my, I don't want to say ugly because it's not ugly. That's subjective. But it's just outside of what I like so much that I shouldn't even have ordered it. I knew better. And that was me asking myself, what's wrong with you that you don't like this deck? Everybody loves this deck. Do they, Grace? Do they really? So, yeah, it didn't work out for me. But I've had these for ages. And this is probably why those didn't work out for me, because I've had these for ages. I've been working with these for ages, and after I was sick, after I was sick in December, starting in December and then all of January, I reread, or rather re-listened to, because I don't have the physical books to show you, because I have it all on Audible. I re-listened to Carolyn Mace. And, I think I listened to her book on sacred contracts and all that stuff. And anyway, now a lot of people I've seen do not like this deck. Well, I really don't care about the art. And they don't like that there's too much writing on it. But this is supposed to be the kind of deck where it's a jumping off point that's used for that exercise of learning about archetypes and trying to figure out yourself and your archetypes, right? So, yeah. So I really still enjoy these cards. I use them the way Carolyn Mace describes it. Not describes it, but teaches how to use them. Where you go through the cards and you find, okay, this is me, this is not me, this is me. Why is this not me? Why do I think this is me? Is it a personality trait, or is it really an archetype? So, totally been. So yeah, so the deck here is just, it's a companion to the fact that I have been revisiting a lot of Carolyn Mace's books. I can't even tell you how many I listened to in January. It was just constantly in my ear when I'm driving. And my job does have a certain driving component. So I got to revisit a lot of these. This is what the backs look like. The backs are literally a snapshot of one of these cards. I think it's the Prostitute. Let me see. Yeah, I'm thinking that's the piece that we see on the back of the cards. But I'm not certain, so don't quote me on it. But these are affordable, approachable. It's Hay House. I'm pretty sure they still sell them. They probably cost even less than what I paid them way back when. Yeah, I probably paid these $33.99 Canadian at a brick and mortar store 10 years ago or whatever. So I've been revisiting Carolyn Mace's books. Been revisiting the archetype cards in January. I think I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be listening to other stuff in February. I think I'm going to move on to some Sandra Ingerman, which I'll then talk about in my February favorites. So I think those are all the decks. Books. Books I've been enjoying in January, no surprise here. One of them is this one. And I don't know. I find it to be just a regular read. There's nothing. It's not cryptic or hard. I don't know. Like it has a reputation for being way out there or difficult to understand. So much so that another author had to write a book on explaining how to understand this book. I don't know. I don't see it. If you could get your hands on this and you're interested in, and you're working with that tarot deck, go ahead and get it. It's if you know how to read, it's you'll be able to read it. And I got this one, and I think this is great. This I think is for a quick guidebook for the thought. I'm really enjoying this one. This one's really, really helpful, and yeah. Another book I got in January, and this was, I got it, I was in the thrift store. I forgot what I went in. I think I went in looking for candles and stuff like that. Stuff like pillar candles or whatever. I'm not going to drop like $20 on a pillar candle. I usually go, while I'm out in my travels for my job, I'll pop into a thrift store and see if they have any brand new pillar candles. I don't buy used candles for spell work. But if there's like, a really nice candle that I see was lit once, then, and it's a fragrant candle or something like that, or something that I really, I love, either because of the candle itself or the container, or what contains it, if it's in a nice container I think I can repurpose, then I will buy a previously burned candle. But it has to be deep. Like, I'll go to the counter and say, hey, no, I'm not paying $3 for this. Someone already enjoyed the best part of it, lighting it brand new. So that kind of stuff, right? So in case you were wondering, like, for spellcraft and that kind of stuff and for ritual, no, I would never, ever use a previously lit candle, like a previously used candle. But I'll buy the new ones at a thrift store, and then you do your cleanse and whatever it is, and dress your candle however it is that you see fit. Anyway, big story to tell you that this book was on the shelf there, and because it was so beat up, they just gave it to me. I think it would have been like 50 cents or something off there. And if you're my age or older, Seth Speaks. I'll read the back in case you. I like that at the bottom, the tagline is the most revealing bestseller of the year. And this book is like I'm pretty sure it's from the 70s. 1972. All rights reserved. This printing was 1974. Second printing. Anyway, so who is Seth? I'll just read the short thing in the back, just in case you see this book around and you're curious. Seth is a personality, quote, no longer focused in physical reality, end quote, who dictated his startling view of the universe beyond the five senses to the earthly body of writer Jane Roberts, and reveals these astounding facts: what to expect immediately after death, how to glimpse into past lives, ways to contact dead friends and relatives, new revelations about the Dead Sea Scrolls, what really happened on Calvary, the 3 lost civilizations that preceded Atlantis, and much more. I used to devour these kind of books when I was a kid, in the late 70s, early 80s. So yeah, this for me is a nostalgia read. So I scored this in January, and it's a fun read. Okay, what's left? What's left is a couple. So candles, I don't have anything to show you. I've been basically, like I said, it's been low key here. The witchcraft has been low key at Henry's Kitchen this month. I've been burning tea lights and haven't been doing anything fancy. But I can't be without my smoke. So in that whole back to basics kind of energy that I've been living in, I came back to some really old favorites. So this incense, Swagat. I think it's pronounced Swagat. I'm sorry if it's not. Oh, I love it. This is patchouli. I love their musk, and their sandalwood is my favorite for burning during any kind of divination work. Divination, whether it's card reading, channeling, whatever. It's just the sandalwood, and a lot of it has to do with olfactory memory, because it's the first incense that I burned when I used to read for clients at my home in Montreal. So I love this. The packaging with the string and everything. It's like no one in my town carries this, and so I only have a limited amount. Some of it is probably 20 years old. If you are watching and you own a brick and mortar store, metaphysical shop, or an online metaphysical shop, and you carry this, message me, please. This is another one of my favorites. This one I can find it occasionally, even at the mall, right? At one of those kiosks or whatever. And this is sandalwood. This is the cones. I love this brand too. And I've kept this. I put this in a box. Like if I have a deck, like a tarot deck or an oracle deck, for me it's mostly tarot decks that are a little old and are starting to smell musty because, well, yeah, even though, they don't have to be stored forever, or something that you receive secondhand for decks. I have a deck that's starting to smell musty. One of them is my Morgan Greer, and my poor Morgan Greer, and my hoi polloi is needed a little deodorizing. Because it's that cardstock, it's just that old-fashioned cardstock. So I lock it up lock it up. What I do is when I have a deck that's musty, starting to smell a bit like, you know what I mean by musty, right? I keep these things. These are desiccants, silicone desiccants that are found in almost everything now, right? You buy a handbag, they have a little bag in it. You buy vitamins, they have a little bag of it in there. So I take a box of incense just as it is, the desiccant, a couple of pouches of desiccant. I take the deck out of whatever bag or box it lives in. I pop it in a wooden box that sits on my cabinet. I have a witchy supply cabinet. And pop this in with the deck, just loose, right? Just not in its bag or tuck box. And and I just let it do its thing, and it deodorizes. The desiccant draws out moisture or whatever that mustiness is, but of course it draws out the moisture. And this replaces. It scents the deck, so I'll have so right now my hoi polloi is nicely sandalwood scented. Yeah, okay. So long. How many minutes did it take me to describe that? Sorry, folks. Here we are. And the last thing, if you've been with me so long, thank you. I appreciate it. It's almost 40 minutes. And I'm just going to quickly talk about some girly consumables that I've been enjoying. Girly. Personal care stuff. That's not, I don't think anything here could not be used by any gender, right? Because it's pretty straightforward stuff. So I'll talk about that, and then after this, I'll show you the 2 decks that I'm working with in February. So you could fast forward if this stuff doesn't interest you. All right, so January went by in a blur. January was spent, like I said, working 4 days a week, which for me is 4 days a week outside the home. I was used to working, I could work 7 days a week in the home, but I was outside the home and needed to have some comfort items with me. And also, for those of you who don't know me in real life, this is the longest my hair has been in my whole adult life. Okay, maybe there was a brief moment in 1990 when my hair was this long, but it wasn't this, it was like layered, permed. There was a whole other mess. This is like natural. It's all natural. It's the longest I've ever had it in my adult life. At least it's the longest I've ever had it since my children were born. And like, my eldest is going to be 19. So there you have it. Again, taking me forever just to, I can't live without these things. These things. And you know what? I need to understand why in Canada, at least in the city that I live in, why these are so hard to find. Shoppers Drug Mart is our big drugstore chain, and they have shit for variety. So when it comes to hair products, they have hair accessories. I mean, they have their own private label, which is drugstore prices. So it's like this, the same price as, let's say, Goody hair accessories, and Goody or Squunchy or however that other brand is pronounced. They charge more, but it's literally cheap Dollar Tree stuff that they have on the cards. So so if you live in Canada, can you tell me where you're getting your hair accessories? Because I get these at Walmart. These are Goody, because they break. But I can't live without these because so I grew out my hair and I still don't know how to style it. Basically, so for work it's like a ponytail, or I put it in one of these and away we go. These are lifesavers. Lifesavers. For me to look professional and out the door. We've had a lot of snow this year, which is not that it's unusual. Okay, I know it's winter. I live in Canada, but where I live, it's in a valley. It's in a valley, and it's in what's considered the desert area of Canada. So our climate is desert climate. But we live in a valley, and we had a lot of snow compared to, let's say, last year. But there's been years where we've had more snow than this. But what I'm trying to say is that it's been a little bit colder, a little bit more damp outside. The heat, like electric heating and all this stuff. And this has been one of my favorite things. This is Dove Beauty Cream, and I got this last time I went to America. I got it at Dollar Tree. So if you live in America, you'll probably find these still in Dollar Tree. They have Dove, the beauty cream, which is pink, and then they just have the intensive cream, moisturizing cream or whatever, which is blue and white. It smells like Dove soap. And I've been using this as a moisturizer because I'm a healthcare professional. It's a scent-free environment. But scent-free is not my natural state of being. So I use a Dove bar, let's say, for a shower or whatever, and then I use this as my moisturizer, and I feel like it extends that whole shower fresh feeling. I love this stuff. It's so nostalgic. Okay, so if you have people in your life that you miss, that used to use, if your Nana used to have Dove bar, especially the pink soap in her bathroom and stuff like that, or your mom or whatever, yeah, it brings all those comforting feelings back. And the fragrance is pretty strong. Like I said, out the door, hair in a hair clip, my Dove moisturizer, my lip smackers. If you've been watching me for 5 minutes, you've seen me and my lip smackers. It's like it's a 40-year love affair, at least 40 years, yeah. And strawberry is one of the originals, and it's one of my favorites. This one and vanilla are both my favorites. When I can get the biggie, jumbo size or whatever, I'm always happy. And I've mentioned before, it has to be made in USA, because there's a lot of lip smackers was sold. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm going into this. But anyway, it has to be made in the USA, because the made in China lip smackers are typically Disney products, like, you know, Disney packaging, and it's not the same. It's not the same recipe. All right, and last two. Oh my God! So yeah, wild musk. I was happy to score this on eBay in January. It's becoming harder and harder. So eventually, the time's gonna come where I'm going to have to say goodbye to my favorite perfume since 1970 something. But for now, I still have it. And the lipstick, I've been wearing the same lipstick since last year, probably over a year now. It's NARS Damage. It's this shade. It's a sheer. It's what I have on now, and it's like a tinted lip balm, but it stays on. Okay, all right. And the last thing, oh my God, 46 minutes. Last thing I'm going to share in my January favorites is the 2 decks I'm working with in February. And the 2 decks I'm working with in February are my Influence of the Angels Tarot, which I modified by just fixing the gold gilding. There's a whole explanation of it. So these are the backs, these are the fronts. So this is my, not will be, because I'm already using it. This is my deck for February, my tarot for daily. And this is the oracle I'm working with for February. I've had this oracle deck since I want to say 1997. Yeah, 1997 I got it. It's still available in a different form. This is what the cards look like. I'll just show you some of them. These are the backs. Mine are, look at the edges. Yeah, these are really well loved. Still my favorite angel deck that I own. And I have a really nice one as well as this, as well as this one. But I really love this one. The artwork is, it invokes Byzantine, but it's Byzantine mixed with like a 70s style kind of, yeah, I love it. So yeah, so that's it for me. If you're still hanging in with me, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I wasn't expecting the video to go on this long, but I guess I also wasn't expecting to have so much to talk about for January, considering it was a pretty low-key month. That's it for me. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in, and I'm wishing you all a beautiful day. Bye-bye.